Somewhere in the Pacific Ocean right now, the wind is slowing down. That sounds like nothing. It isn't. That small change, a weakening of winds along the equator, is the first quiet signal of one of the most powerful weather events on Earth. It will shift rainfall across 6 continents, bring floods to deserts, droughts to rainforests, and record heat to places that have never seen it. Scientists think the next one could be the strongest in recorded history. It has a name, El Niño, and it's coming. So what is it exactly? It helps to start with how the Pacific Ocean normally works. Strong winds blow steadily westward along the equator. These are called trade winds. They push warm surface water toward Asia and Australia, piling it up on the western side of the ocean. On the eastern side, near South America, cooler water rises up from the deep to replace it. That's the normal state. The system stays steady and weather around the world stays predictable. El Niño happens when those trade winds weaken. Without their push, the warm water that had been piled up in the west starts sliding back east. Sea surface temperatures across the central and eastern Pacific rise, sometimes by 2, 3, even 4 degrees Celsius above average. That might not sound like much, but the Pacific is the largest ocean on Earth. All that extra heat eventually moves into the air above it. And once the atmosphere picks up that extra heat, everything changes. The great east-west loop of air that carries heat around the tropics breaks down. Weather patterns shift across the entire planet. Rainfall that normally falls on Indonesia and Australia arrives instead in Peru. East Africa floods. Southern Africa dries out. The Amazon, one of the wettest places on Earth, weakens. Even the Atlantic hurricane season gets quieter because the Pacific is pulling so much heat that there isn't enough energy left to spin up big storms. None of this is random. The same regions are hit in roughly the same ways every single time. El Niño is unpredictable in when it shows up, but when it does, its effects follow a familiar map. The name itself comes from Peruvian fishermen in the 1800s. Every few years, around Christmas time, the cold water off Peru's coast would vanish, replaced by warm water that drove away the fish. They called it El Niño, Spanish for the boy, a nod to the Christ child because of when it tended to arrive. They had no idea they had named something that reshapes the weather of the entire planet. The history of what El Niño can do is sobering. The Great Famine of 1876 to 1879 killed somewhere between 30 and 50 million people across India, China, Brazil, and Africa. The droughts that caused it weren't local bad luck. They were driven by one of the strongest El Niños on record. The weather failure was global. The suffering wasn't. The 1997 to 1998 El Niño was the first one watched closely by modern science in real time. Satellites tracked the warm water spreading east across the Pacific. Forecasters warned of floods in California, droughts in Australia, crop failures in Indonesia. Most of those warnings came true. Global temperatures spiked to a new record that year. Coral reefs bleached on a scale never seen before. Roughly 2,000 people died from direct weather impacts, and the economic damage ran to about $90 billion. That event held the record for almost 30 years. The one forming now may surpass it. As of 2026, NOAA is forecasting an 82% chance that El Niño develops fully by midsummer, with a 2 in 3 chance it becomes a strong or very strong event. Some models show sea surface temperatures in the central Pacific reaching 3 degrees Celsius above average by late 2026, which would make this the most intense El Niño since at least 1877, possibly the strongest in recorded history. There is one thing that makes this one different from all the ones before it. The planet is already warmer now. El Niño doesn't create heat, It moves heat that is already stored in the ocean. But there is more heat there today than at any point in the industrial era. A powerful El Niño layered on top of an already warmer world doesn't just add the two together, it multiplies the effects. The heat waves will be hotter, the droughts drier, the floods more intense, the coral bleaching more severe. Scientists think El Niño events may also be getting harder to predict as the planet warms. A system that has shaped global weather for millions of years is now being pushed into conditions it has never seen before. All of this traces back to something as ordinary as which way the wind is blowing. The trade winds slow down, warm water slides east, and months later, someone in Kenya is watching their crops fail, someone in California is watching rivers overflow, and a coral reef in the Indian Ocean is turning white.